GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, daily crypto show where we simplify crypto so clearly it feels like someone finally explained to you the difference between a crocodile and an alligator. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton, and today we are joined by legendary crypto investor Zeneca, who is on Twitter all day telling his hundreds of thousands of followers what he is doing and how you can perhaps win in this crypto market. We're going to talk about if you had a moon bag right now, if you had $1,000, $10,000, what would Zeneca buy? How would he take that moon bag and look for a 100 or even a 1000x? We're also going to talk about the different strategies for going after a 5 to 20x versus going after a 100 to a 1000x. You need to approach these two types of investments very differently. We're going to talk about how you might do that. Also, before we jump in, really important announcement, everybody. There is a milk token scam going around the internet right now. I want to be very clear and upfront. We have never and have no plans to launch a Milk Road token. If you get an email, if you get a link, if you see anything on Twitter, it is a scam. Do not click, do not engage. Please stay safe out there, my friends. Also, right now is the Milk Road Awards voting. So you can vote on who you think should be the best winners from 2024 for the Milk Road Awards. If you're not already subscribed to the Milk Road newsletter, hit the link, subscribe now, and you can vote for a bunch of fun prizes and contests that we have going on. Before jumping, we're just taking a minute to hear from our sponsors who make the show possible. Meanwhile is the world's first licensed and regulated life insurance company built for the Bitcoin economy. They do everything in BTC. You pay in BTC, they pay claims to your family in BTC. You take out policy loans entirely in BTC when you need liquidity. Protect your family from life's uncertainty and a broken financial system. Build intergenerational Bitcoin wealth while the cost of living skyrockets in dollar terms. Plus, get all the tax and legal benefits of life insurance now in Bitcoin. Visit milkroad.com/meanwhile to join the waitlist and get early access to the world's first Bitcoin life insurance. Whether you're bullish or bearish on MicroStrategy, T-Rex ETFs are your gateway to dynamic market plays. Get exclusive access to leveraged exposures with the first 2x short or 2x long ETFs designed specifically for MicroStrategy stock. Position yourself with precision. With T-Rex, you gain access to powerful tools for sophisticated investors. Zeneca, what's up, my man? Welcome back to the show.
GM, good to be back as always.
All right, we got to start with this graph, which we have shown multiple times on the show before, which is the phases of a market cycle. And right now, as you can see in this chart, if you're watching or if you're listening, we are at the start of the euphoria phase. We're in the part where the mania phase, and we're also in, because of 100K Bitcoin, we're in big time media attention phase. And I want to bring this up because I think it's really important for investors to understand where we are in a cycle, not just in terms of how you allocate your portfolio and whether you take profits or whether you buy or you sell, but also how it impacts your psychology. Zeneca, what do you think about where we are in the market cycle right now, and how does it make you act in your investments and also guide those that follow you?
I think this is bang on. I think that's exactly where we are, where that green little arrow is pointing to. On the chart, you got the smart money, which was super early. You got the institutional investors, which we probably saw with the ETFs in most of the last 12 months. And now with Bitcoin at 100K, media attention is picking up. Even social media attention. If you follow, there's some platforms you can find metrics of like total views on YouTube and total follower accounts of, the top 100 or 500 Twitter influencers. All those numbers are going up. And so we're getting to the point where like retail is coming back in, public awareness is hitting all-time highs again, which means we're not at the top, but we're not like super early anymore either. And in terms of how I'm playing it, I basically I have to force myself all the time not to sell because I have PTSD from round tripping last cycle and even the previous cycle. And where last cycle I was like, I had no desire to sell. I was like, there's no way I'm selling. I don't want to sell. I hated the idea of selling. Now it's like I hate the well, I don't hate the idea, but it's like it goes against my internal everything to hold because I've seen how things can crash. But I still think we have a long way to go. So I'm just really just I'm taking a tiny bit of profit here and there, but I'm really just I think we have quite a way to go still in price. Time, who knows how long it's going to take.
Yeah, always just difficult to predict time. Okay, so given that we still have quite a ways to go, if somebody is sitting there right now and they've got, let's take $10,000 because it's a nice round number, and and I don't mean $10,000. Maybe this is like you just got a year end bonus. Let's say you got a year end bonus. This is new cash you had come in. I want to be clear. This is your moon bag. This is your fun money. This isn't. This should not be your 90. I don't know what your fun money. It depends on your portfolio, but somewhere between 80 to 95% of your money should be elsewhere than this money. But if you had like this is basically this is your like it's either 100x or zero essentially, right? So if you were in that position, Zen, if somebody came to you and they said, "Okay, I got 10 grand, Zen, I want to allocate it now, and I want to go big on this," I want to talk about how you would allocate that. First question I want to ask is how many tokens are you going to invest in with this type of bag? Basically, it's like a question of like, should you be diversified with this type of bag, or should you be really focused in order to get the in order to focus on one or two, or I don't know. How many tokens would you think about for this?
Yeah, I think I'm generally of the mindset that you want to be less diversified and just pick a couple of really good tokens and hold them. But that's when you can have really high conviction. When it comes to moonbags and going for a 100x or a 1000x or a 50x, it's just not possible to have that level of conviction. If you had that conviction, you'd mortgage the house, you'd sell your car, you'd sell your kids, and you'd buy all your money in this thing. 'Cause you're like, it's guaranteed it's going to 100x. So because of that, I think you should buy lots of tokens and put a small amount into them. And lots it doesn't mean like hundreds. I mean like maybe 10 or 20 with, you split it up to like 5 or 10% per position, which is, again, generally more than I recommend for the rest of your portfolio. But if you're trying to hit those 100x, you need to, it's a numbers game. Like it's high risk, hopefully high reward. Most of them are absolutely going to go to zero. Probably all of them will go to zero, but there's that chance that one or even more of them do outsized returns, and that's kind of what we're going for.
Okay. Okay. So well diversified, which totally makes sense because most are going to go to zero, but you only need one or two
Hmm.
to make it, and that makes up for the whole portfolio. Very similar to how VCs invest. And I
Yeah.
want to be clear to everybody listening. We're going to ask Zen directly which tokens he would buy, but before we get there, I want to talk strategy first. How often would you be trading this type of bag? I mean, obviously, with the majority of your bag, your hodl bag, you're not trading it.
Hmm.
You're more you're DCA in, you're DCA out, you're taking profits, of course. But with this type of bag, how often would you be trading?
This comes down to, I guess, like personal preference. There's a couple of approaches. One is you place your bets and you wait, and again, it's like you ride it to zero or you go for the 100x. The more active trader, which is lower risk, but you do cap your returns a little bit, is you watch every token and like if it does a 2x, you take out half your position, so you at least cover your downside. And then if it runs from there, even a 100x of half your position is still going to be really good money. So it just kind of depends on risk tolerance and how much you want to like babysit your portfolio. Personally, I tend towards the more YOLO side of it. I don't have strict, take profit rules at a 2x or a 3x. But I do try to just like scale out profit as it starts to go higher and higher. You do have to watch these tokens because the highest risk tokens are the highest variance and can very quickly go to zero or very quickly, do 100x and then crash. And so you want to be able to sell in time. And that's when setting limit orders and things like that make a lot of sense. But you have to be a lot more actively monitoring this portfolio than
Mhm.
your longer term
What
holds.
what tools would you be using in order to do this buying and these limit orders and like those types of things?
Yeah, so it depends on the blockchain and again, like the strategy you're taking. If you're trying to find like pump fun, newly launched tokens in the trenches, like sub 50K market cap, you really want to use a bot like Photon or Bullex or there's a handful of other ones. That's never been my strategy and it's not my expertise. So I don't use any fancy bots or tools. I use the major exchanges, Jupiter on Solana and like Uniswap or Llama Swap on EVM for making my trades. And to me, I prefer that because like with bots, it's so instant and so quick. It's so easy to just click a button and buy a token. Whereas even just having like a few seconds of separation, helps counteract some of the FOMO for me, and I make less stupid decisions basically. So that's basically it. And like on Solana, on Jupiter, you can set limit orders to sell and stuff like that. On ETH and EVM, I think you might have to use a bot to sell limit orders. You can't directly do it through Uniswap, although I'm not really sure there. Or use a centralized exchange, depending on what you're buying.
Yeah, which some of these, a lot of the things you might be
A lot of the
buying
meme
here
coins are not. Yeah, you're
probably
not going to
aren't
find too
on
many.
centralized exchanges
No,
if
and
you're
for good reason.
moonbagging it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What about on the downside of each of these trades? So let's say you buy in on one of these and it starts to fall. Are you
Mm.
selling or are you just letting it? Are you like, I'm in it, I'm going to let it go to zero?
This comes back to like monitoring the trade again and why is it falling? Um, Again, a lot of these things have there's not a lot of like fundamentals to speak of, but there's usually some reason you buy in. Like, Mudeng, for instance, the animal meme coin that went viral, it was going viral on TikTok, it was getting a lot of media attention. And you could say, well, traders call it invalidation. Like, what will invalidate your thesis for being bullish on the token? And it could be that, global sentiment turns away, no one cares about the animal anymore, and the community starts dying and fading, and you're like, all right, you know what, I'm out of this. Or it could be you discover that like the people that launch the token are serial scammers and ruggers and they're selling off and you can like, all right, you can sell out and take away 30% of your money. You take a 70% loss, but you can just see the writing on the wall that it's 100% going to go to zero. Other times it's like you don't have a reason for it selling. It's just random market fluctuations and your core thesis hasn't changed. And so in those instances, I generally like to hold because I'm like, well, I bought it for a reason. If it's down 50%, but my bullishness hasn't changed, if anything, I'd be interested in buying more at that point. And so it really just depends on why it's dropping and the reason behind it, because every token is different, and some you want to sell, and some you want to keep holding or even buy more of.
What would you say if you were to look back, if we were sitting here a year from now, what do you think would be the difference between somebody who became a millionaire in a cycle versus somebody who did not?
Patience, in a single word. They say money flows from the impatient to the patient, and it is so much more true in crypto than in almost any other space I've ever been in, because people think a month is long term in this space. 2 months, 3 months is very long term, and it can feel like that when you're in the thick of it. And there's going to be 1,000 narratives and metas and tokens that pump and dump and do well and don't within that span. And you can definitely make money trading those waves and being an active trader day to day. But by and large, for instance, you're not going to make 100x or 1,000x if you sell at 3x. You're impatient, or you sell at a 50% loss. That's one example. Two is the best way to like put yourself in the best position to get 100x or 1,000x and to increase your chances of that is to find narratives early, tokens early, when almost no one is paying attention to them, and the price is very low. Either it's crashed a lot or it just has stayed low. Buy a decent position and then wait and hope and expect and pray that attention flows into that thing at some point in the future. And that can take weeks, that can take months. Virtuals on Base, the AI agent pump fund launcher platform, for example, launched about 9 months ago. It was sitting at, I think, a sub 1 million market cap for many, many, many months. And now it's at over a billion. So, or maybe it was sub 10 million, but it was staying relatively low for a very long time. And, there were people, not me, I bought in relatively late, but there were people that saw that. They were like, they built a thesis. They said AI agents are going to be a big deal. I'm bullish on base. The team is strong. They've got good backers. I'm going to take a position and I'm going to wait. And those people did very, very well. So I think sitting with positions and being patient and having things that you have conviction in that you buy in early is going to be the differentiator between the people that, by and large, make millions and those who don't. There's always exceptions, but by and large.
Yeah, it's great, simple yet profound advice. Let's just talk about, you mentioned finding a 100x or a 1000x, because I think that first of all, I want to say these are incredibly hard to find. So everybody listening, it's okay if you never find it. Like don't set your expectation that you are. But I want to talk about the difference between trying to find a 100 or 1000x and like how you go about finding that versus how you might find a 5x or a 10x or even a 20x. Like in my mind, and I don't want to simplify it this much, but I'm curious if you agree with me. Like I've been working on my 2025 predictions, and in my mind, Bitcoin 2x rest of the cycle, ETH 3x rest of the cycle, Sol 4x. I'm sort of simplifying it. I don't think it is quite that simple, but that feels like probably about right. 5-10x probably more in like the altcoins, the L1s. I like a lot of the DeFi tokens there. Maybe some of the blue chip memes, Doge, Pepe, WIF. I think that's where you're in that 5-10x space. So I feel, and I think we talk about that a lot of the show. I feel quite comfortable that I know how to go to get those returns. And I think that most of our listeners, I hope that you also feel that way. It's the 100x and the 1000x that's a little bit trickier. You got to be in the trenches. And, Zen, you're the person to ask, because you got the balls to go after these 100 and the 1000x's. So I got to give it to you. And you got to have big balls to do this. So like, if you're sitting there and you don't feel like you're really like literally willing to lose the money that you're putting in, don't even bother, because if you're not willing to lose it, you won't be patient, you'll fuck up. But assuming you are in that position, how do you go about finding these? Where do you look for them? Who do you listen to? What communities are you in? Where do you go?
Yeah, I think there's two approaches to getting, let's say, 100x, 1000x type tokens. One is the spray and pray approach, which is very high on the gambling spectrum. And you could say, I always think of it as think of a roulette table where in a normal roulette table, you pick a number and you're, 1 in 36 or whatever chances of hitting, and you're slightly losing money every time you're betting because of the zeros and stuff. But imagine there was 1,000 numbers or a million numbers, but instead of slightly losing money, you're slightly making money, because if you take a smart approach and you buy, you can have an edge in this thing, but you're almost always going to lose. It's this deck is stacked against you. That's the approach of you're in the pump fund trenches. You're looking for newly launched tokens under 1 million market cap. And, it's tough, but it's possible to 100x, 1000x those tokens. It's tough to give advice for that, because it's sort of like, it's a lot of time in the space. It's being in alpha groups. It's getting early to tokens, getting inside scoop from someone who knows someone who knows someone, and just getting lucky. And so that I honestly, I dissuade people away from that approach, because it's so tough and most likely you'll lose your money. The other approach is kind of what I was talking about before, which is being patient and finding a narrative that you can understand and buy in with and wait. And some examples of where to look for that are, think about what has already pumped this cycle and what has not. And you want to maybe build positions in things that happen. So we've seen obviously AI agents go crazy. We've seen the L1s. We've seen the Dino coins like Ripple and stuff go crazy. Other things might be like gaming or DePIN or real world assets. I really strongly believe that there will be a point in the next 12 months in this cycle where all of these areas get a lot of attention, and certain coins in those areas are going to do exceptionally well. And almost no one is paying attention to them now for two reasons. One, the attention just isn't there. Everyone's like focused on meme coins and AI agents. And two, the liquidity reasons. Even if, for instance, myself, I'm bullish on all these things, but I'm trying to maximize my money in the short term. So I'm more actively trading in and out of a few positions here and there. Um, so my liquidity isn't there. My liquidity is over here in the current tokens. And that's for almost everyone, because almost everyone wants to make money today, tomorrow. They want to flip today, tomorrow, next week. What that means is that all that liquidity is not in these tokens that might pump 3 months from now, 4 months, 5 months from now. So doing some research, finding good projects by established teams, good communities that have stuck around through the bear market, and just taking positions in those things, that's the best and safest and easiest way to find these 100x time tokens. It just requires patience and obviously quite a lot of luck, but less luck, I think, than trying to be in the pump fund trenches and find the next meme coin that's going to do 1,000x, because that's almost pure gambling with a slight edge, perhaps.
Okay. Okay. I got to ask the obvious now. Let's say you've got this 10,000 moon bag. What would you be buying right now?
Yeah, I would.
Not financial advice, everybody.
Not financial advice. I'm not going to name specific tokens, because otherwise I'd basically just name my bags, which, yeah. But I would like, if I had a moon bag and I wanted to, let's say, it depends on your goal as well, but let's say I had $10,000 and I wanted to turn it into $1 million, I would look into gaming deep in real world assets and just see what's coming up there, see what tokens, maybe like ecosystem tokens, launch pads, maybe something that matches with AI. And, you spend some time, you got to spend a week or two doing a good amount of research, or a day or two if you're really fast. But then I would find 10 to 20 tokens, put a small amount in each of them, set it aside, and just wait and not do anything. That would be my position. And I know it's not sexy, and it's not instant, but I think that would give someone the best chance possible to maximize their money. If I was taking the more degen approach, I would open up Pump Fun. I would also open up Twitter in a bunch of tabs. I'd have like Elon's Twitter up. I'd have like Donald Trump's Twitter up. I'd have, anyone that might make big news. And you just watch in Pump Fund, you can see all the launches. Like there's tons and tons and tons of launches. Or you can launch it in Photon, the bot, and you can put some filters on. And either way, you're watching the new launches, the newly graduated tokens, and you wait till a new story breaks. Like when they found like Luigi, the person, the suspect in the murder in New York the other day. Mm-hmm. When his name was revealed and went public, there was a meme coin that launched almost instantly and it ran up. You could have made 100x or 1,000x on that if you were super duper early. That requires, being constantly glued to your screen, watching news feeds, watching Pump Fun. And then the problem is like there was probably 50 tokens that launched Luigi, and you have to like put a little bit in each of them and just hope for the right one. Or you have to like do a little bit of research really quickly and see who the dev is and other tokens bundled. And it's a whole other skill set. It's one that people can learn and you can do very well at, but that's the other more high risk degen route. And so you got to like pick which category you're in. I would say most people will do better off being patient, looking for the next narrative, taking 10 or 20 positions and waiting. But some people, especially if you're, 19 years old, you have all the time in the world, you can be glued to your screen all day, then by all means, find news sources, have Pump Fun up, join a couple alpha groups, find 5 friends, and just like try and be really, really early to these tokens.
It's interesting to me that when you say narratives, you say you don't mention AI agents and meme coins. Is that because you think when we're talking about, is that because they're already too big?
Yeah, I mean, 80% of my portfolio is in AI agents and meme coins at this point because of how much they've pumped in the last, maybe 70%, 60% if you take out NFTs. But a huge percentage is in my fungible tokens is in AI agents and meme coins. But that's been the narrative for the last 12 months, meme coins especially. I still think they'll be bullish. I still think the sector is going to do 10x from here, perhaps more. But I think if you're looking for 100 and especially closer to 1,000x's, getting diluted in the AI agent and the meme coin space. And like you said at the beginning, like, maybe that's the 10x to the 20x space where your Mog or your Pepe or your Doge or your WIF or whatever, they'll that's great returns, and that's better than almost anyone could hope for. And I'd be very happy with that. But if I was trying to hit 100 to 1,000x, you got to look for the next narrative. You can't. Everyone's talking about AI agents and meme coins right now, and they're doing very well, and I think they'll continue to do very well throughout the cycle. But if you want the big returns, you have to find what everyone is not talking about right now.
Yeah, well said. Okay, I want to switch gears to a different topic, which is quantum computing. We had a big announcement the other day from Google, a big breakthrough in quantum computing. Very exciting for many reasons, but also very scary because we all use cryptography to secure our assets on chain. And all of a sudden, it was brought into question, oh shit, is the 3.5 trillion in crypto money on chain at risk because these quantum computers are going to be able to hack our seed phrases and get into our crypto? Big news. Are we safe, Zen?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a concern. The big news was made because Google announced their new chip, Willow, that has basically made massive leaps forward in quantum computing. And to me, it's bullish for humanity. It's incredible what this is going to be able to do. But it obviously created a bit of a scare in the crypto space. People were like, "Oh crap, what does that mean for our everything?" It's not new. People in crypto have known about this for since the beginning. Certainly, it's been getting more attention in the last 5 to 7 years. But the thing with quantum computing is if and when it gets to a point where it can crack the cryptography of crypto, it will also be able to crack every other security thing in the world. So think of every military operation and encryption program the United States military has. Every other banking software, everything will get cracked. And so while there's so many smart people working on improving quantum computing, there's also really smart people working on how do we get better encryption and improve and fight against that. And that is why I'm pretty bullish on crypto. The nice thing about Bitcoin and ETH and every other token is that you can upgrade them with consensus. These are living computer programs that, while you can't change how many Bitcoin there will ever be, you can change certain other mechanisms about the entire the way that it's secured. And so I'm confident that that will happen in time. And just to give some context, I read yesterday that in order to decrypt a Bitcoin private key within 24 hours, you would require 13 million qubits, which are like the way that they quantify these quantum chips. Willow, the big announcement yesterday that's made so many leaps forward, is at 105 qubits. And so there's a long way to go yet before we're even close to that. So it's another 10 years, I would say, 5 to 10 years at least. And again, upgrades will be made to prevent against this in time. So it's nothing to worry about now. And I think people can rest well knowing that really smart people are working on solutions to this all over the place.
Okay, so bit of a nothing burger. The one thing I need to mention though is I did see some people talking about Satoshi's Satoshi's wallet as being a potential risk because his wallet is it's an old type of wallet. It's no longer used. Nobody is on those wallets anymore, but his still is because it hasn't been touched in so long. And so there was somebody who was saying, well, that might be at risk. Is somebody could, if they had access to a quantum computer, and if in 5 to 10 years it can do what we think it could do, that could be at risk. And then somebody said, okay, well, does that mean that we all have to decide to maybe sunset his Bitcoin, which seems crazy and very much against the ethos of Bitcoin? But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know what the solution will be when it comes to combating this. Obviously, if quantum computing gets to the point where they can crack Satoshi's wallet And if they can do that, they can crack some of the earlier Bitcoin wallets and all the Bitcoin that's maybe been lost and forgotten about. They'll be able to crack those. I would imagine that whatever solution gets put in place, whatever upgrade gets put in place, takes into account all of this. And like you said, it's going to be tough to do in a way that is in spirit with the ethos of Bitcoin and decentralization, and not screwing that over. But also understanding that technological advancements do need to be made sometimes. To the whole point of Bitcoin and crypto is to protect against centralized attacks, protect against attacks. And it's done very, 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 very well at that to date. And I guess the idea would be to make it so expensive to attack that it's still not worth it for anyone to do. And I don't know how they're going to do that, but that's the whole thing. Is like, currently it's possible to attack Bitcoin, but you need to accumulate 51% of the entire supply of Bitcoin, which would, you started to do that, the price would be like probably hundreds of trillions of dollars, and basically impossible. So some solution that involves making it impossible or impractical to attack, I think, is what will be put in place. I don't know how they'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think main point is we've got time, and in that time, there's enough people that that have a lot of incentive to figure this out. So I think we're all safe. And shout out to Google, and congrats on Willow, because as you said, I think very exciting to see these types of advancements. Everybody listening in, I forgot to ask this earlier in the show, but when we were talking about this Moonbag, I'm really curious, everybody listening, what you're looking for right now. Are you looking for a 5x, a 10x, a 100x, a 1000x? Let us know in the comments. Let us know what you're looking for, because that'll help us think about the next time we have Zeneca on. Maybe we'll focus on one of those versus the other. Zen, thanks so much again for joining us today. Everybody listening in, have a wicked awesome day.
Thanks all.
As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.